Hi everyone. Well, welcome to the first Yoga Vidya Salon. This was an idea that some of my students came up with as a way of making myself more available to all of you in a way that you don't have to drive anywhere and do it. And Vanessa is behind the scenes here with me, and she just waved to you all. She's going to be helping me field some questions. And I guess the theme of this first salon, and I hope there are many more for you guys to really have a great forum for asking all of your yoga related questions. Some of the questions that came in were about me and my path, and so I thought that I would start with that, and then sort of what my opinion of the big picture yoga world is all about. And I have a question. When I first started practicing, what was the culture of yoga? And what has changed, and in my opinion, has it changed for the worse or for the better? So we'll go way back in time to another age and stage. The first time I took an actual yoga class was in 1978 or 7. I'm not sure, 77 or 78, and I was a teenager. And my kind of wonderfully enlightened hippie neighbor named Bunny brought me to a local church basement where a woman was teaching. I believe now that it was a form of Shivananda yoga, which is one of the only kind of lineages that had come across the pond and actually was kind of training teachers at that time. And it was very, very interesting. I have a joke, but it's true. We all quilted our own yoga mats. We were very Becky Homeki back then. And I made this little quilted yoga mat. And yes, indeed, one of the questions that came up prior to me publishing this today was, did you actually wear tights? Yeah, we wore leotards and tights. There were no such thing as yoga clothes. We borrowed from the dance community and wore leotards and or nylons, actually, not even tights, nylons. I ended up cutting the toes off of my nylons, but that's what we did. And I don't know I'm certain they're not in print anymore, but Indra Devi and Richard Hittleman both wrote these really teeny little paperbacks. One of them was called Yoga for Beauty. And that was one of my first yoga books. And it was very, we did a lot of cobra pose with the elbows out and the neck strained. We did a lot of, I remember doing shoulder stand every class. The instructor was very, very sweet. I don't remember her name. Very, very sweet, and always gave us a long shavasana, which I appreciated, being kind of an exhausted and hyper anxious teenager. So I did that for a while, and then really, as I grew as a teen, became much more anguished and confused and turned to meditation. And that was my path for a few years before I got back in my late teens, early 20s, back into yoga on the suggestion of a different neighbor, because she could tell I was really stressed out. She said, you should go to a yoga class. So I think there was one in a different church basement in a different city that I was living in. And that was the yoga scene back then, pretty much. This plethora of yoga studios on every corner, and literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of yoga teachers out there really has burgeoned, I would say, in the last 25 years. And I think part of that is because the population is aging, and a good number of us aren't so interested in just doing the aerobics and kind of feeling the burn, although I really can't explain why the advent of hot yoga has exploded. That's for another another time maybe. So let me just refer to this question again. What's changed for the worse and what's changed for the better? Well, certainly what's changed for the better is that more people are doing yoga. And I think in 2016, we're almost at 40 million people who are consistently practicing yoga. I keep looking at Vanessa, and she's nodding. And something like 36 million plus. I remember when I worked for Yoga Journal in 2012, the number was around 20 million. So we have seen almost 100% increase in 4 years of people that are practicing yoga. And I think part of that is because the population is aging, and a good number of us are really looking to take charge of our health and take charge of our wellness. Certainly to take charge of our fitness, which is where most people start. So that's a pretty big number. And I think another great thing is that for men, since in the last 4 or 5 years, 2.5 times more men are practicing today than were 4 years ago. So we're sort of smashing through that paradox of flexibility / inflexibility. I think the physical inflexibility comes hand in hand for many people with the mental inflexibility. I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. Well, you're not flexible in your mind enough to even explore the different styles and the range that might be available if you're studying with a well-qualified and trained teacher. And here's another benefit: it's not one-size-fits-all yoga. It is not only for the young, the fit, the fabulous, the white. I will say that this is really becoming more accessible, and there's a movement for more diversity in classes, economic diversity, racial diversity, and I'm hoping that we do see more and more people of color and class that are offering this beautiful holistic science. So those are really some of the great things that are happening in the industry as I see it. And some of the not so great things, well, when you go out there and say, well, I practice yoga or I teach yoga, one of the first questions you will invariably receive is, well, do you do hot yoga? And is it a really good workout? And I think we're doing a service to the great diversity and holistic tradition that yoga actually is, which is not just getting a workout. Yes, it's about getting the body to be a fit vehicle so that the mind can get healthier. And I'm just going to say it, and I hope I provoke some people. Doing handstands, big arm balances, twisting yourself up into a pretzel has nothing to do with you being an advanced yoga practitioner. It means that you probably were born flexible and that you're working hard to really, punish your body or drill your body into a certain shape, form, or practice. The most advanced yoga asana posture is to sit still on your buttocks with your legs crossed for 40 minutes, 45 minutes in meditation. There, I said it, it's the truth, and I'm sticking by that. And I'm not saying that I can't do, can't bank out a pretty interesting arm balance every so often, but it's certainly not why I practice yoga, and it's certainly not what I teach to the hundreds of students that I have. So, okay, next question. Was this always my path? Was there doubt? Was there straying from the path? No, this wasn't always my path. As I said, I started as a young teenager. I got too cool for it. I found other ways to amuse myself and to delude myself, but I kept coming back to the meditation aspect. Living as many of you have. I'm not discounting that. Living a fairly turbulent environment in childhood. Oh, I have contractors upstairs. Sorry for the banging. I needed something more, and I wasn't going to go down a path towards self-destruction. Something, guardian angels, my own higher intelligence was telling me that was not the way that I was going to go to be able to manage and navigate my course. So there was doubt, there was straying, but I would say literally over the last 18 to 20 years, this is my path, and I've lived it every day in one form or another. Whether I'm doing asana, always do meditation, always do pranayama, live a yogic lifestyle as much as I can. I have fun too, but turning my routines into rituals. This is all yogic as well. So the straying and the doubting is part of the path, but if you continue with the practice, those voices that want to detract really do begin to diminish in their volume and their frequency. So stick with the practice, that's all I can say. Next question from one of my senior students who has small children. How do you practice with small children? And I actually have a lot of students that...
She's currently watching.
Oh, and hi Jen, she's currently watching. This is Jennifer Venditti, owner of Leelananda Yoga in Burn Hills? Glenville, New York. Beautiful studio, you should go there. So how do you practice with small children? You practice with small children whenever you can. Remember that your yogic path is a continuum that moves with you throughout your whole life, and yoga will be there to meet you as you are. So this doesn't mean that you can't have some part of a routine, but I think it's really important that you try to set up your life to make it a priority, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's a half an hour while the baby's sleeping. If your toddler is crawling all over you, how can you find that peace amongst that beautiful chaos? Those are the things that come as fruits of our practice, and from our practice we should become more able to adapt. We should become more patient. We should become kinder to ourselves, and this is a process. I can't say that it took me a long time to become actually more patient. It's not in my script. But over the years, the decades, this is happening for me, particularly, as my kids were growing. There were challenges around that. But when my kids were little, I just took what time I could. And I always did a meditation before bed. Of course, you have to be careful which one you do, but I knew I would have those few minutes. And I felt like meditation and pranayama were the most important things. Asana, of course, is very important, but going inside and working with that nervous system and your mental state is really the juice of what we do as yoga practitioners. So next question: When did you find Para Yoga and Tantra, and how is it different from the other styles of yoga that you had studied? Well, I found Para Yoga, which is the path that I've been on studying with my teacher since 2001. So I happened upon Rod Stryker, Yoga Group Rod Stryker, in 2001 at a week-long yoga conference, ironically right up here at Lake George. I wasn't even living in the area at the time, but I drove a long way to take this 5-day yoga conference, and I took one class with him, and I thought, he's a very stunning looking person, very commanding, really articulate, and I took this class with him, and it was like unlike anything I had experienced. The asana, back then he was teaching harder asana, so it was challenging enough, but there was a je ne sais quoi that I didn't really understand. I had been practicing Iyengar style yoga for over maybe a decade, and everything was about so precise. We were moving consciousness with the body, but it's all about alignment of physical form and this perfectionist attitude, which was really appealing to me. I liked that. And then I discovered this new style of practicing where we were actually attuning the breath in a particular way to find a particular energetic and a result, and the mind just sort of was just very powerful, and I didn't put words to it. But what really made me latch on to my teacher was he taught a meditation to everybody. There were several hundreds of people at this conference, and I was spending the week with Mary Dunn, who was, God rest her soul, phenomenal, Iyengar teacher, and Richard Freeman. So, which is, he was in the Ashtanga tradition, but he's so much more than that. So Rod taught a meditation in this big lecture hall at the YMCA up on Lake George, and I believe it was on chakras, and maybe it was 25 minute meditation, and by the end I had no idea why, but just tears were just streaming down my face. It wasn't like I had a religious experience, but I had a very, very deep experience. My meditation was a lot, for the 30 years I've been doing it prior, thereabouts, was a lot kind of drier. It was effective, but this was juicy. This was colorful. This felt right. I felt like my cells were vibrating, my heart was on fire, and my mind was super, super curious to find out what this handsome guy was all about. And so for the next 3 years, I was studying with a different teacher and traveling with him, Rodney Yee, and I was one of his apprentices on the East Coast. And I traveled as much as I could with my kids and my business. And I would see Rod at these conferences, and I would always skip out and go take as many classes with Rod as I could for about 2.5 years. And then I saw him in the hallway down, I think we were in Florida or something, or maybe it was in Manhattan at the Yoga Journal Conference. And I just went up, I just was walking down the hall, and he said, "Hey, Lauren, how are you?" And oh gosh, I was just like, wow, this guy's amazing. I've studied with him maybe 5 times. And there's thousands of people here, and he says he remembers my name, and he looks in my eyes and literally wants to know how I am. And I said, this man's capacity is, I want this. And I just said, do you have a minute? And he said, yeah, I have a minute. And I said, I don't know how to do this. I said, but will you be my teacher? I want to formalize this. Can I be like your student? And he said, Lauren, I've been waiting for you. And so, yeah, it was a very dramatic moment. And from that moment, it was in 2003. From that moment, I was like, and away we go. Mm-hmm. And so since that time, I've just been consistently studying with him, apprenticing with him. I actually helped him develop his organization, his certification, just, not for any monetary reason, but out of love for what he does, wanting to share it. And now I feel like in the last 3-4 years, I'm actually building this amazing community that knows about Tantra, that knows about Pariyoga, that believes in it, that's living it. And I see it again and again and again. And then Vanessa here is a case in point, This gets you on fire and accomplishment, and it's not about ambition, but moving into the best and brightest and highest of who you are becomes unquestionable. It's non-negotiable, and it's because these people are leaning in to these ancient, unadulterated, traditional teachings. This is old school yoga that I'm teaching, folks. It's thousands and thousands of years old. I don't need to invent anything. The body of knowledge, I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface. And my teacher, when he's at the feet of his teacher, feels the same way. The depths that we can go and the heights that we can attain through practicing the totality of yoga, which is Tantra, Pariyoga, a beautiful distillation of that, the sky, beyond the sky is the limit. There's no limit. There's no limit. And you're still getting rest, and you're still having relationships, and you're still having families, and you're still watching TV, and you're still, all these things are still happening. So I can't say enough about it, but that's my history with it. Very different from other styles. Do I have any other questions? I got one more that came in.
No.
Okay.
No, we're good. If you want to say hi, Megan and Aubrey are on as well.
Oh, hi guys. Anne-Marie, Julianne. Hi, Julianne. Oh, nice to see you. Kristen, Jen, Megan. Who else? Abra. Hi, Abra.
Abra's got my kids, so.
Yeah. Thanks, Ab, for watching Vanessa's kids as she helps me with this podcast. It's not a podcast. This video cast. This salon. So another question that I got was, how do I explain yoga today amidst the myriad misunderstandings? And this is from one of my students who's becoming a very powerful, more popular teacher. And yeah, that's Kristen. Hi, Kristen. So she just joined. Perfect timing. So what do you say? Well, I mean, Kristen's a very athletic young woman, very beautiful, very strong athletic presence. And she says, people think I'm doing poses and sweating it out every day. Well, here's the answer that I might give to someone who might even be a little derisive in their question. Like, so what is this yoga thing? Anyway, my God, I'm so sick of yoga. It sells everything from yogurt to cars to bras to shoes to, whatever. It's a holistic wellness modality. Yoga and Tantra and Ayurveda, those three streams coming together provide a perfect platform for your life to help you to thrive physically, mentally, and to help you to aspire spiritually. That's really, whether you're religious or not, yoga is not a religion. It is a wisdom tradition, and it carries with it some, if you're inclined, and you don't have to be, it carries with it some, some worshipful acts. But you don't even have to take those on if you don't want to. Yoga itself is actually sort of self-therapy. It's psychology. So in pure Patanjalian yoga, Sutra yoga, we're looking at the mind, we're dismantling it, we're figuring out how we get in our own way around it, what the obstacles are to us actually becoming happy. And the definition of happy and joyful is that we're feeling connected. We're feeling connected. So the first thing we do, most of us, is asana so that we can feel connected to our bodies and we can enjoy our bodies as vehicles. And we can not become obsessed or punish them, but utilize them in a way that we become more appreciative of life and we become more connected. And that might include how you eat, when you eat, and certainly what you eat. How you put the food in your mouth. How do you prepare it? What do you buy? What do you talk about when you're eating? All of these things. We can't differentiate. There's no difference between mind and body. So, Kristen, that would be another thing that I would tell somebody. If they really thought about it, just ask them, really think about it. If your tummy is upset, what's your mind thinking about? Or if you're feeling stressed, you're moving into anxiety, does your body feel exactly the same? No, it's reacting. So this is about us acknowledging that there's no separation between body and mind, and utilizing a holistic technology to take care of it, to be healthier and to feel more whole. I think, and then all the brands and the methods and the modalities and the fads. Those are all part and parcel of the industry of yoga, which is huge, billions of dollars, everything from yoga socks to, yeah, you name it, and tons of studios.
I saw yoga push-up bra once.
A yoga push-up bra, there you go. So, you put the word yoga in front of it and maybe it'll sell. People want to feel aligned to yoga, whether they do it or not. I mean, look at the plethora of yoga pants out there now. And you know, a lot of those people aren't practicing yoga. So I'm not judging, but you know, you may well sweat when you do your yoga practice. That's actually highly encouraged, but not every time. And the other beauty of it is that, you know, as I said, there's so many different styles out there. That might be another thing you want to talk to them about, is like, you know, maybe your vision or your idea of yoga is a little too singular, and you can help to guide them toward more highly trained and adaptable teachers, adaptive teachers who actually know how to teach people and not just asana. There's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of teachers out there who teach scripts, and they're doing good work. I'm not saying that, but as we age and as we get frailer, I mean, I was born in one of the last years of the baby boom, so I'm a young baby boomer, but I'm still in my mid-50s, and so as our population ages, I think the yoga teachers should become even more skillful. And that's to go back to a previous question, that's another beautiful thing that's coming out, is all of these sort of specialty courses, which you have to be discerning about what you sign up for. But there's a lot of great work being done for people with special conditions and needs, age-related, everything from baby and prepartum yoga, pregnancy yoga, all the way up to yoga for healthy aging. Oh my gosh, hi Ben, thanks for joining in. Yeah, we're gonna have dinner, I promise. So Ben says, one of the best gifts you've shown me is how to offer authentic teaching with no BS. Yeah, I like that, no BS, no BS. And that might come across as being a little school marmish, or even a little, I don't want to say harsh, but directed. We don't need the BS. My teacher, Ben's teacher, Yoga Rupa, one of his things is, and he's one of the most loving, kind, mushy people if you really get to know him. If you're not comfortable making your students uncomfortable, maybe you should consider a different profession. And he says this because yoga changes people. It changes people. And that's a beautiful thing. But change isn't always pretty or easy. And so as Kristen, just to round things off, is like, well, yoga's a great way to change if you want to change. And we've got so many myriad teachings that could apply to you, whoever it is, Joe, Fred, Mary Jane, whoever it is. And the beauty of people like us who are studying and teaching yoga is we can incorporate that and we can be more of service. So, Kristen, don't let them get you down. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there, but stick to the high, clear path, and I think you're going to have great influence. And you'll take your teaching capacity outside of the studio, off of the mat. Yeah. So, hi Laura, thanks for joining in. So, I think I've blabbed at you enough for the time being. Oh, I just wanted to give you one more statistic, which, of course, this morning I woke up, I go, oh my God, I got this 1 o'clock thing. So one more statistic that I actually found today, just today, this is the only one I found today, was something like 34% of people, so almost 3.5 people out of 10 would practice yoga if the circumstances were right. So I think this is a great testament to its influence, to its power, and I hope that you continue to get yourself educated so that you can be educators, and that you can, as I was closing off our advanced personal practice course yesterday afternoon, work hard to be an inspiration to yourself and then be an inspiration to others. This has nothing to do with a high ego or big guns or anything like that. This is about how effective and sweet and big and kind and brilliant can you be as a light shining in this ever darkening world. That's my Donald Trump impression. All right, signing off, everybody. Thank you, and I will, we'll do this again, probably in a couple weeks. Thanks. Namaste. Thanks, Vanessa.
Oh my